Oxford, Fall, 1820. The driver set the horses on a merry pace, and from the man's demeanour, Patrick thought this journey a lost cause. He had travelled enough to recognise which coachmen took their position seriously, and this one had all the makings of such a one. There was no stench of spirits about him, and he kept the horses at a hurried but prudent speed. However, Patrick's grim assessment proved flawed, for after only an hour of travel, the coachman glanced over his shoulder at the pair. "You two look like a fine pair of gentlemen with a good head about you. Would either of you like to take the reins for a few miles?" While he kept one hand firmly on the ribbons, the other he offered up in clear invitation, and the lads were quick to drop a guinea into the outstretched palm. Pocketing the coins, the coachman motioned for Kelly to climb onto the front seat, and Patrick watched with an envious gaze as his brother was handed the reins and given a few curt instructions. The horses slowed, and Kelly gave a great "Gee up!" flicking the reins at the beasts, but the foursome continued to lag, their pace dropping to a walk. He shook the bits of leather, but the team had no intention of following Kelly's commands. "What is going on up there?" cried a passenger from inside the coach. "Why have we slowed?" "A bit of muddy road is all, sir," called the coachman with a smile at the young men. "We'll be along shortly." "I must arrive in Harrington by nightfall," came the reply, and they heard the coach window shut once more. "You're making a muck of it," said Patrick, leaning over Kelly's shoulder for the reins. His brother pulled away. "I am not. They're simply stubborn." "Give them a bit of the whip," said the coachman as he slouched in his seat. "That'll straighten them out." With a nod, Kelly did as told, but the end knotted up in the harness, rendering the whip useless. "You're tangling the reins," said Patrick, pointing to the ribbons all twisted together in Kelly's hands. "The team can tell you're a novice." Shifting his grip, Kelly straightened the bits of leather, but the horses would not budge from their sluggish pace, and the coachman appeared utterly unconcerned. "You're a natural," mumbled the driver with a lazy smile. "As good as any novice I've seen." "May I have a go?" asked Patrick, leaning forward until he was hanging over into the driver's seat. Kelly leaned away, causing the horses to list to one side. "It's only been a couple of miles. You'll have time enough later." "We've got an inn coming up presently," said the coachman, jabbing a thumb into the distance. "We can change drivers then." "But I want to try now," said Patrick with a groan. "I'll give you extra time after the stop." Kelly's eyebrows rose. 5 miles? 2. Narrowing his eyes at the horses, Kelly pursed his lips as he contemplated the offer before handing the reins over. Patrick did not bother shifting seats. As it was, he was hanging over the railing between his bench and the driver's seat, which gave him space enough to manage, and he could not wait another moment. Taking the straps in his hands, he mimicked the coachman's grip, carefully positioning the ribbons between his fingers. When comfortable, Patrick gave the reins a nudge, calling out for the horses to get a move on, and they did. Though nowhere near the pace the coachman had set, Patrick was quite pleased with the fact that it was not much slower. "How did you get them to do that?" asked Kelly, and Patrick pointed out a few techniques he had gleaned from watching coachmen. With another flick, he increased the speed once more, and it was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. "Faster!" Kelly shouted, and Patrick grinned at his brother while pushing the horses to greater speeds. The coachman tapped Patrick's arm, motioning to the right lead horse, whose ears were pricked and at attention. The foursome tugged at their leads, but Patrick kept a firm hand on them. "Give the reins over," said the coachman. "I have it." The coachman reached for the ribbons, but Patrick held fast as one of the horses shied away from the road. Connected to the other 3, it tugged the others along, causing the coach to lurch. The horses wrenched away from each other, fighting to get free of their harnesses, and Patrick pulled on the reins, struggling to keep the creatures in hand. The coachman shouted at Patrick, but the ribbons tangled in his fingers as the horses jumped and danced along the roadway.